up in Lincoln. So 12 hours in the car, and here we are.
Yeah. Can't stop Burroughs and Taylor from competing. I'm super excited for that match. And the bonus is we get a whole bunch of matches that we didn't even expect to see. So it's going to be super fun. And what you got there? What's the venue looking like?
Yeah, so this is just a little sneak peek. This is the production team right here. I mean, yesterday when we got here, this room was empty, and that room next to it, there's a practice mat. You
Okay.
guys working out right now, and then I'll take you over. And Mia, you know this setup. It's just like what we did in Austin for Who's Number One. I got some people around here, so we mask up. And then so you just come through this little entryway. It's not the best camera angle, but and through here, this is where
There it
it's
is.
at.
That's where it's going down. Man, it's exciting. Getting me fired up just like seeing
Yeah,
it.
it's kind of awkward to do that with my computer because it's like backwards. So I try to go right, I'm going left, but um, yeah, pretty excited. And you mentioned this before, David. This is the first time I've done this from the road at an event, and I guess to the point of our guest, this is gonna be the first time we're having a woman commit. Maybe anybody. Is anybody committed on this show? I'm not sure, but what we're doing it today. And let's go ahead and bring on our guest. It's Mia Palumbo, rocking and rolling. And Mia, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited that you could be here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mia, we're super excited to have you on the show and have you commit. Really big day, and we'll have plenty of time to kind of get into your background and all that stuff. But we don't want to keep people waiting too long. Why don't you go ahead and tell us where you decided to go to college and kind of why you made that decision?
So I've decided that I'm going to continue everything at Iowa Wesleyan University, and I think the coaching staff is great over there, and it was just an all around great environment to be in, and it's going to be a great ride down the future.
That is awesome. And man, we had that graphic up on the screen. Tyler, if you want to pull that back up for a second, this is super cool. You guys have put some effort into marketing this. This is a big decision. Talk about what some of those conversations have been like with the staff at Iowa Wesleyan, and kind of what things about the program led you to decide to go there.
Yeah, it kind of just started. They just started talking to me. They're like, "Oh, we had heard like about you and that, and everything like that." And then from there, we had just planned a visit, but it was hard because of COVID and everything like that. So it was kind of modified when I went there, and so then right after my first visit, it was a really fun visit. Like there was a lot of team bonding, and there was a practice that I got to watch. And right after that, then like we just started talking more, and I think it was just that obviously this had my major already, and it was just the coaching staff really wanted to see past like not just as me as a wrestler, but more as like a person, and to make me grow. And I thought like there was a connection right away between the coaches.
That's super cool to hear. You know, you mentioned it, right? The recruiting process has changed for not just you, but everybody during this pandemic season. What were you said it was a little bit of a different visit than maybe what it would have been. What were some of the things that were different or unique about being recruited during this year?
I think it was pretty unique. It was definitely different because I know most visits, like you'll get to, like I know a lot of my friends who are wrestlers get to like stay overnight in dorms, and like I didn't even get to go like see the dorms because like they couldn't have anybody that wasn't in the school in the dorms. So that was different, and like there wasn't any games or like football games, basketball games, or anything going on at the time. So like I couldn't go watch the games and stuff like that. But I think the dorms was like a big difference because that's where a lot of people like they would want to see, but that wasn't able to happen.
Yeah, man, that is very different from yeah, what most people experience. I'm sure that Iowa Wesleyan wasn't the only school recruiting you. Your accolades have piled up over the years, and you're one of the biggest recruits in all of women's wrestling. What was the process like, not just at Iowa Wesleyan, but in talking with other coaches in other schools?
It kind of. I think I started the college process like a little later than I should have, but I didn't really focus on like looking at a college right away, like freshman, sophomore year. But once junior year hit, I knew I had to like start the process. And some of the coaches, they would want me to reach out to them first to show that I was like interested. And some of the coaches, even like from all around, were really just like texting me and trying to figure out like if I wanted to go on visits or anything. But with my major, I'm an exercise science major, and a
Yeah.
lot of the colleges with women's wrestling are like art schools. So it kind of limited me from the start. So then I had to really like start thinking like what best fit for not just wrestling but also academically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I
And
got a quick question.
oh yeah, Bader, go ahead.
Wait, I don't know how old you were when you started wrestling, but when you were younger and came up wrestling, like was wrestling in college even a thing that you thought of, or was it not until, like you said, maybe your junior and senior year when the recruiting process kind of started that you decided, hey, maybe I can do this beyond high school?
When I started, I definitely wanted to wrestle in college, but it was kind of the thing that just it would come on its own kind of thing that my parents had talked to me about. And so, like, freshman year, I wrestled at Fargo, obviously, but then I was off sophomore year and junior year for my high school season. So it kind of like, I thought I was at a disadvantage with colleges since I wasn't wrestling at the time. But then, right after that, then everything kind of just took off on its own.
You know, Iowa Wesleyan is you were telling me before the show about 4.5 hours away. As you were in the recruiting process, were you looking at schools coast to coast, or was it important to kind of stay in the Midwest?
Um, I think it was kind of important to stay in the Midwest just because with my family and everything, we had decided that it's better to stay kind of closer where it's like we could come up in a day, but we also like we could see each other when we need to and just work around that.
Cool. And Iowa Wesleyan is a new program. Just kind of getting the ball rolling there in Mount Pleasant. What were was that something that you thought about, the fact of it being a new program and you being kind of one of the pioneers for Iowa Wesleyan?
I've definitely thought about it. At first, I wasn't totally sure about going to a new program, but once I visited there and they had just like they did, it was amazing. Like the visit was awesome, and then right when I visited there, like when I left, me and my mom were like, "Wow, like that was awesome." Like most schools, like they have to work around COVID, so it's kind of hard, but they did their best to like make everything happen, and it was a great time.
And that's awesome. One of the things that you and I were talking about before we were rolling is the unique way that a women's wrestling schedule is set up compared to the men's wrestling schedules in college, in the fact that like the USA Wrestling calendar, the UWW calendar is like built into your kind of your college schedule. So instead of having like just this really condensed November to March season, I mean, there are events throughout the entire calendar year. Is that something that you're excited about, and something that you think maybe men's wrestling, NCAA wrestling could learn from?
Yeah, it's definitely something exciting just because like after or even in college, like this is all something many girls look forward to is being on a world team and winning all these like great tournaments. But it was kind of cool just so like it builds up to like be the best and not just wrestling college teams. It'll prepare you for those world team trials and everything like that.
Yeah. Um, are there any teammates in particular that you're really looking forward to having as training partners?
I'm not really sure who's at there at Iowa Wesleyan right now, but I know I've talked to a lot of the girls that I'm friends with, and I've definitely told them like you got to look into the school, like it's awesome, and it's definitely family over there.
Yeah, that's really cool. So one of the big things that we've talked about, that a lot of people talk about around women's wrestling, is eventually getting this sport sanctioned at the NCAA level. Are those conversations that you have with your coaches or with your teammates, or just what's your kind of stance on that, and what are some of the things that you've been hearing about that?
I've talked to my dad. He's been my coach. I've talked to him plenty of times. Also, my parents. They're really big on getting girls wrestling growing, and I think it would be a great opportunity to just have everything in one. Because like although this is like a male dominant sport, I think the girls definitely have something coming up for them to make this bigger. And being sanctioned would make everything like it would grow the sport a lot. I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And to that point, so like growing women's wrestling, when something's growing, whether it's a sport or a movement or whatever, there are always like those handful of people that are kind of on the front lines, and you've really been, even in high school, like one of those women who people look at and point to as a leader. You competed in June at the Rumble on the Rooftop event. You competed at Who's Number One, and now you're committing live. Is that something that you think about as the role that you have played and can play in it being a woman that people look to as the sport is growing?
I think I really started noticing in my freshman year when a lot of girls like right after state, a lot of girls would come up to me and people would be contacting me like to run like clinics or one on ones. And I thought that was awesome just because like when I was wrestling, like there wasn't many girls who like you could like look up to or like it wasn't a big like there wasn't a lot of people, so it was harder to like get those clinics in and stuff like that. But I love that I could be somewhere where like some girls like look up to me and they watch me wrestle and talk all about me. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool.
To that point, when you got involved, obviously there are women wrestlers older, and there's retired women's wrestlers that have had a lot of success. When you got involved in the sport, who were those women or young ladies you were looking up to?
Actually, I was at a tournament with my older brother, and uh, I was like saying how girls like girls wrestle, and I see Leah Gallo wrestling, and I was like, she's wrestling, so that means I could wrestle. And then me and Haley kept in contact, and then I just started wrestling from there.
That's really cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
Uh, Mia, how did you get started in wrestling? How old were you, and what were kind of the things that brought you into the sport?
I started wrestling when I was 4. My dad and my grandpa had wrestled, and then it kind of just followed into the family. And then my older brother wrestled, and then right after I seen Haley wrestling, then I just started practicing and competing that same year.
Did you have success right away as a 4-year-old, or did that take a little bit of time?
I think it took some time just because I was kind of all over the place, but it was definitely like it kind of clicked soon that like I was winning like national stuff and like big tournaments, even because there wasn't many like girls divisions when I was younger. It was kind of just like you got to wrestle the guys or like you can't you can't go. So I just started
Yeah.
wrestling guys, and then once I got to high school more, that's when I like really started wrestling girls.
Yeah. So as you're, elementary, middle school age groups, and you're having success, did you love the sport right away, or as a little kid, was it just kind of like what you did because it was fun and you were good at it, or how was that? How was your kind of relationship with wrestling at a young age?
When I like first started for the first couple of years, I loved it, and then once I got to middle school, that's when it got a little tougher. Going from little kids to like seventh, eighth grade. That's when it kind of got like a lot of the guys are getting more mature, so it was kind of rough, and I was kind of just in that mood where I wanted to like just do all the sports everybody else was doing, and but I stuck with it, and once I got to high school it was like a whole game changer. From Illinois has IKWF, and that's what I wrestled in. And then once I got to high school, like I loved it, like just being on the mat, and I was definitely an underdog to many, like when right in freshman year going against the guys. So right after freshman year it kind of just lit a fire that like I needed to just keep going and everything like that.
That's awesome. I want to
Did you
hear
meet
more
any
about that.
resistance?
Oh, go ahead, Bader.
Did you meet any resistance from boys or dads or parents or coaches, maybe even along your? I would assume at some point, but maybe not along your way.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people, some clubs wouldn't let me wrestle at their programs because I was a female. A lot of dads and even a lot of kids that I wrestled, like they would refuse to wrestle a girl, and some of them would wrestle, and some of them would wrestle like kind of dirty and just take advantage of a girl wrestling, and even some refs at times would be like, oh well, if she can't handle it, then girls shouldn't wrestle, stuff like that, which was it was a lot of negative, but there was a lot of positive that kind of outweighed all the negative stuff that was going on.
Was that you had mentioned earlier that like kind of that elementary to middle school transition was tough. Was that a lot of the reason why? Was it related to results on the mat, or mostly kind of that resistance piece?
I think it kind of has something to do with it because there was a point where there was a lot of people just nobody like it wasn't nobody was talking about girls wrestling, but it was kind of just pushed to the side, and a lot of people really didn't like the fact that I was a girl wrestler and that I was like competing with the guys and like I was up there, so it started a lot of drama in Illinois. But I definitely think that I have a lot of supporters that help through everything, and they definitely helped me to just push past that point.
You said something earlier about you said like after your freshman year, you really that really like something lit a fire in you, and you know that probably helps to explain like all the success you've gone on to have. What was it? Can you think specifically or point to specifically what it was that really lit that fire and kind of made you passionate to compete really well?
I think really like towards our conference regional those weeks, like a lot of people were talking about like, oh, like you could be this first girl who wins a match at state, and like you could be all this, and I was like, well, I'm gonna make it happen and just go out there and battle to get that spot. But I think it was definitely around that regional sectional kind of time, just because a lot of people were talking about it, and I think just like more people talking about it, even like negatively or positively, like it definitely makes me want to like just keep going to either prove people wrong or to like show people what was happening.
Yeah, and then when you went out there and competed, did it feel different to compete when you had that kind of that motivation?
Yeah, I think I was more out there like looking to like hit everything right and like not mess up, but just make sure everything was crisp. And I just went out there and just tried leaving it all on the mat when I started wrestling. Then
And how did it go? Did you accomplish those goals?
so my freshman year I had won regionals and sectionals, but then I got to state and I won my first match and then I lost. I ended up going 2-2. I lost in the blood rounds.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, that's awesome. That's really great that you had that level of success. And then, I mean, you would go on, that was in 2018, right? So then you would go on that summer to have like great success on a national level. You won Fargo both at the 16 and under division and juniors. What happened between the end of your state tournament, your freshman year, and Fargo?
I think it was more of a mental thing to just go out there, and if I was like, okay, I could hang up there with the guys, then I need to keep this momentum and bring it into the summer season with wrestling freestyle with the girls. So I think just the season all around and going straight into like junior duels, freestyle state, and everything like that, especially Fargo. It was all a new experience, but there was a lot of new things happening that year that like it wasn't something that I was nervous about. It was kind of just something that I had to get through.
Did you go into Fargo expecting to win? Just hoping you would. What was your mindset heading into Fargo?
When I went to Fargo, I was kind of just like, I'm just gonna take it match by match and just go out there. And I don't have the best like background with freestyle. Like I had freshman year was the first time like I've ever wrestled freestyle, so I was a little nervous about that because like obviously I know a lot of girl wrestlers start freestyle younger, but I was all about folk style just because I was wrestling the boys and that's what they did and like in season. So I was more kind of just nervous to see how it was gonna play out with not knowing as much freestyle as many other people. But I just had to stay on my takedowns and everything like that, which made it a little easier.
And you decided to go both, and you're not the only one. A lot of women do this, but both 16 under and juniors. Which one did you compete in first that year?
I think it was cadets first.
Okay. Okay. So as you're starting to roll through the tournament, did you start to get a sense like, okay, I'm gonna roll, I'm gonna win this whole thing?
Um, I didn't really get the thought of that. I was just kind of trying to take it match by match because like anything could happen at any moment. So I like to just take it match by match to see where it goes, and then once I made it to the finals, I was like, okay, just one more match, and then I had to get ready for the juniors.
Yeah. So you won cadets. Now juniors is next. Like, all right, now you've got this title. You've won all these matches. Did you at that point think, okay, I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna win it in juniors, or were you still like, we'll just go match by match?
I think once I won it, I actually didn't want to wrestle in the juniors at first, but then my parents had decided that like I was wrestling in juniors, so once I got there, like I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go out there, and I don't see a difference. There is a big difference between cadet and juniors, but I mean, I've been wrestling up my like entire life, so it was kind of just like wrestling somebody my own age as sense to like wrestling cadets. But I didn't really. I just kind of thought of it as like any other match and just went out there. And I was a bit nervous just because I knew they were a little older, but at the same time, it was kind of just like they were just older and just another match.
What was that conversation like with your parents when you were like, no, I think I'm done, and they were like, no, you're not.
So right after I won, I like took my pictures and I went back up to the stairs, and I did not want to cut any weight, and so we were standing in front of like the ice cream stand, and I really wanted ice cream. They were like, "What are you weighing?" I was like, "I don't know." And then I had told my mom that I was not wrestling in juniors because I did not want to cut any weight, and she was like, "No, like you are," and it was one of those like stern, like you knew she wasn't playing. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go check my weight. I ended up only being like zero point 0.4 over, so I ate the ice cream.
You got the
And
ice
then,
cream. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
What'd you do after you won juniors? Did you get two ice creams?
I think I did actually.
That's what I would have done. So you win cadets, you win juniors. That's a ton of success all in one weekend. How did that change things for you? Is that when, more and more people are contacting you for camps and clinics? And did that change how people treated you in the sport? And did that change how you thought about yourself and your goals?
I think definitely like people definitely treated me differently after that. Not people who had like doubted me before, but like newer people who just wanted to like be a part of the journey and be a supporter of me. But a lot of people took that as like, all right, well, like she's gonna do something, and I think that kind of took off. That's where a lot of people started contacting me, and then I started like going to different practices that I usually wouldn't go to, and definitely opened the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And switching gears a little bit, one thing that's, tough to talk about, tough to think about something that you've gone through this year. Is your older brother passed away in an accident, right? And he was somebody that I know you looked up to and respected a lot, and he had a big impact on your life. Talk about that. What was that situation like? And for people that don't know, kind of what happened there.
So on the 25th of November, actually, my brother's in a car accident on his way home from work, and it was definitely something that like, and it was pretty early in the morning, but he had just like lost control, but it was just different, like you wouldn't really expect to wake up to something like that, and it was just there was a lot of people who like showed up to our house and who told stories and everything, and it was a hard it's still a hard process, but yeah, we're just going through day by day.
And I know that you've mentioned him a few times throughout the interview. He sounds like was a big influence on your wrestling career. What was the role that he played in your career and as you're developing and having all this success?
Um, he definitely had an impact on it just because he was always a little not a little bit. He was a lot bigger than me. But so we would practice every now and then, but it was kind of just like a light drill and everything like that. But of like a lot of people would talk down like we had talked about before about like girls wrestling, and he was always the type to be like don't listen to them, like they're just trying to get in your head. And he was always there, like my high school, me and him, and we took it from there, but he was always there, and since we were younger, he wrestled and he took a couple of years off, but he came back and he was always right by my side.
Man, it's awesome
You
to hear
mentioned
about. Oh,
all
go ahead, Bader.
friends and family. I think that you mentioned a lot of people came over to the house that day and told stories and this and that. I'm just wondering if I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but if you can come up with a quick story about him that stands out to you or helps define who he is. It can be funny, it can be serious, but something to a little tribute to your brother here to help us all understand who he was and what he meant to you.
Well, a lot of people had explained like my brother was a really like happy person. Like he was the type to like just go in a room and make everybody laugh, like no matter what. Even if it was like a very serious moment, he would make a joke and he would think it was the funniest thing ever. But I think one of the best things was actually the night before everything happened, my parents had told us like we got to do some chores. So my brother, he's 18 years old. He's never done laundry in his life, and so he decided he was going to do the laundry that day. And the way he folded the clothes was just so bad. And so I went to practice. Like I wasn't even paying attention to the clothes. Went to practice, came home, and looked, and they were in my room. And I looked at that, and I was like, oh my god. So when we had family dinner, I was just like, Rocco, and I was like, I'm gonna say this in the nicest way possible. Please don't ever fold my laundry again. And he thought it was the funniest thing ever. He was like, well, I've never folded laundry before. Like, this is how I see it. My mom's like, do you not look at anything that like I folded your laundry in the past 18 years, And he was just a goofy person. Like he made the stuff that would come out of his mouth was just like sometimes made no sense at all, but it was just it definitely made put a smile on a lot of people's faces.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I always like somebody who can light up a room and make people laugh and be that sense of um, comic relief almost sometimes, right? When maybe things are tense and you need a good laugh. So
Yeah.
it's cool to hear that. Obviously, really sorry about to hear the news and everything, but sounds like he was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And great to have an advocate too for you and your career. And I'm sure he's super proud of you. So that's great. Mia, the last time we saw you, the last time we talked to you before this was at Who's Number One. And I mean, you had one of the most exciting matches of the night. You wrestled Sage Mortimer. It was a match everybody was super excited about because the success that you had at Fargo, Sage has had really similar success. You guys were like a weight class apart all the time. And so it was a really fun match to make. What were you thinking heading into that match, and how did you approach that match with Sage?
Um, I knew of Sage before, and I knew she was a great competitor, but I never really thought we were gonna wrestle until you guys had like talked about wrestling at Who's Number One and said I was gonna wrestle Sage, and I was like, oh, like that's gonna be a great match. Like I knew she's amazing, and I knew it was gonna be a match that like a lot of people were gonna look forward to. So I kind of just I didn't do much like film watching or anything like that. I kind of just worked on everything I needed to work on to prepare for the match.
Okay. Let's watch it. I mean, this was a great match, super exciting, back and forth. So our producer Tyler is going to pull this up, and as we're watching it, we'd just love to hear your thoughts, Mia, on what you remember from the match and things that stand out.
Pounds. Going to see a little.
All right, so you guys are getting going here. She came out hard. What are you thinking as she took that headlock attempt?
I knew she was a Greco kind of girl, so I was like, all right, I got to be prepared for the headlocks and the big throws like that. So I just had to make sure I was on my
Oh.
toes and knew how to react in those situations.
I saw you take her over the top. Were you thinking exposure there?
Yeah, I was trying, but yeah, it was kind of just like a first reaction kind of thing, and but I know I had to. I didn't get it, so I had to just turn around and figure it out.
This opening
This is crazy.
exchange this scramble is
crazy.
like 40 seconds long or something. What are you thinking as she finally gets a takedown? Have you been, how often are you wrestling somebody that's on your level that can push you in a scramble for that long?
Not really often that happens. So I've obviously worked on like flexibility and everything like that. So I knew once I got in the single, like I had a good chance. But yeah, she was tough there.
Man, it's like a lot of energy to go through a whole scramble like that. Did that take anything out of you, or were you still like totally locked in, ready to go?
I was still like locked in.
At this point, Mia, it is different, right? And you've seen the setup here, and it was basically the same thing that night, where it's like there's no fans, there's referees, scorers, coaches, and announcers, right? And camera guys. Was that weird at all? Could you hear us talking, or was it just different, or was it you totally in the zone and everything's good?
It was kind of different. I thought it was gonna be a lot more different, just because it was hard to like when I'm in matches. Like I obviously hear the crowd and everything, but I kind of just focus on the voices like that I need to hear, like my coaches. So it was a little different at first, but once I got started, it was like nothing was.
Hey, is this
But yeah,
is it?
actually,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, right here in that single leg exchange, I actually broke my wrist during the match,
What?
and yeah. So
And you
like
I've
right
never
after the
broken wrist
match,
before.
could you
yeah.
tell? Could you tell that something happened in here?
Yes, if you go back further, you could see like my wrist was just in a like an awkward position, and you could see it's like caught under there,
Yeah.
and it was just yeah.
Oh my
During the match,
god!
is it just like, oh man, that I popped something, or could you tell like this is bad?
Well, right away I was like, oh, this is a little sore, but I think my adrenaline was just too high to feel how bad it actually was. But right when I got off the mat, my wrist was killing me, and I was like, oh my god, like this is killing, and I called my mom right away and told her. I was like, I think I might have broke my wrist, and she was like, all right, well we're gonna get that checked out. And right when I got back, I went and got some X-rays, and it was broken.
Dude, that's so funny. I remember before I interviewed you after this match, you were on the phone with your mom. I had no idea that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Your right wrist, your right side.
yeah, my right wrist.
That's crazy because now I watched. Oh, and you just posted on that wrist, and that's
Yeah.
holy.
So it's crazy. So, 4-3 and just awesome exchanges. You're heading into the break. What are you thinking down a point, heading into the break?
I really wasn't thinking much about the score, just because I know like anything could happen at any moment, especially with freestyle. Like points could be there in seconds. So I was kind of just like, I just need to stay on my offense and keep attacking and work from there. And that's the same thing my coaches had told me.
What did they tell you in the corner? Did they give you any tips on adjustments to make to things that Sage was doing?
They had told me to just like keep moving my feet, circle certain directions, and just stay on my offense. Because if I just kept going, like I'd get to something.
Did you say anything to them like my wrist kind of hurts, or mention
No,
anything, or was it?
at all. I just kind of let it go, just because like tape really wasn't gonna help in the moment. So it was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep wrestling and.
You're a freaking stud.
Yeah.
You're a beast.
This is like the big one, right?
Yeah.
This is the one everybody's seen on Instagram.
Yeah. My mom had a watch party at my house, and there was like a live video doing it, and
Boom!
everybody. Yeah.
That's great.
Talking to you after the match, it sounded like that was just like you just stayed with the single, and as she circled, you just kind of that's not something you've ever drilled, right?
No, not at all. I kind of just like It was just something I kind of felt in the moment, and I was like, I didn't think about it at all. I kind of just hit it just to see what was going on, and then it just worked out.
Yeah, badass.
Yeah, that's a good catch there.
Yeah, I had known like a couple moves she had done, and I practiced several of these that she tried hitting in the match, which was good that I trained with that.
Yeah, that 4-pointer, it seemed like really put her in a position where she was like maybe feeling like earlier you were saying you're not focused on the points because they come. That seemed like a situation where maybe she was a little more focused on the points. You're really cranking on that shoulder, huh?
You nearly ripped her shoulder off. Yeah, yeah. I was like, I think we didn't have the perfect view of it from that camera angle, but I know there's a photo, or maybe it's the highlight video. Something. It's like her elbow is like, wait, yeah. How does that?
Yeah, that
Not
happened to me in the match too.
She gets you right
I
here
think
with the
that
shoulder, right?
yeah, and I was there for uh, a little while.
She's like, back at you.
This is
Ah,
this one's just as bad. It's like you guys were just trading shoulder dislocations or something.
I think wrestling
yeah.
the guys, that's where it definitely comes from. You know, we gotta be able to work around strength and everything. And there, it's harder for a lot of guys. A lot of guys aren't as flexible, you know. So yeah.
Man,
Yeah, yeah. That was some flexibility.
that looked brutal. Both the one that the cranking on her shoulder and then her cranking on yours, those look both pretty insane.
Yeah.
9-6, 45 to go. Anything can happen.
You're
still
still shooting.
Yeah, my dad and my other coach, they kind of they told me like if I just stay on fence, keep going, like there's nothing that could really stop you if you just keep pushing the pace.
Man, nice.
Get back at it. Ooh.
Yeah,
5-4
right there
lead.
definitely wasn't
ahead,
the
Mia.
finish I was for, but it kind of just came like that, so I had to just take what was given.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. 11 seconds to go. 5-point lead. You're sitting in good shape. She keeps shooting.
Yeah. Man. Great match.
Yeah.
Just pure action, like start to finish. What do you think? Have you gone back and watched that match since then?
Yeah, I've watched it like probably 100 times. Like I always just get bored and watch myself wrestle,
Yeah.
just to see where I can improve and where I went wrong and everything like that.
Sure. And Sage is wrestling tonight down there in Lincoln, and you've got a match coming up too, right? Actually, a couple. When are you going to be hitting the mats again next?
So next Wednesday, actually a week from today, I'm gonna be wrestling at the Wisconsin Underground, against Chloe Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And then they're trying to find a match for me at Test for the Best in Illinois, but we're still looking.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to see you compete every time you're on the mat, and great to kind of know what's next for you, to know your commitment. It's gonna be super fun to follow your career at Iowa Wesleyan and beyond that. Sage, we're about to the end of the show here, but really pumped to have you on. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we let you go?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you guys.
I got one
thank
quick
you.
question.
Bader.
There's a big match tonight. I'm wondering if you have a prediction.
I don't know. I can't do that.
I understand. Yeah, I think Mike Mock gave us the X too. Didn't want to give a prediction, so that's no
Yeah.
problem. But it definitely has been a treat chat with you, and super excited to watch your college career unfold and your international career beyond that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you next time, Mia.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Man, Bader, what a show. It was super fun to catch up with Mia Palumbo. She's like just a total rising star in the sport, and now we know where she's going next. Iowa Wesleyan. huge recruit for a new program, and I have a feeling she's gonna make some serious noise for them.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun. Like I said, it'll be fun, really fun to watch her continue to wrestle. And of course, tonight's going to be a lot of fun. I've as I've been sitting here, Joey McKenna's like started and almost finished the workout. He's hitting dance in motion. So just to be in this environment is going to have me fired up all day long. I think Mike Ironman's going to come in here a minute, and I'm going to whoop his ass for a while, and then go shower up, get a bite, and be ready to roll tonight.
And it's only Wednesday. We've got college wrestling on the site tomorrow night with an event at Cal Poly. We've got international wrestling on the site. The Henry DeGlane in France is going to have world champs galore. It's a good week to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. You said today, tomorrow, this weekend. Keep it going, right? The more wrestling, the better.
100%.
Yeah. All right, folks. So that's going to do it. Appreciate you, David, taking over for a minute while I've been gone and have let me call in. And thanks to Mia and everybody just Mia for being on the show today. But yeah, it's going to do. We'll be back next week with more guests. Everybody, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.